Welcome to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. Today I'm really excited because I'm speaking with author Amanda Hill. Now, Amanda's written a wonderful book called Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight: How to Discover Your Life's Purpose and Put Action into It. She is a life coach. She is an entrepreneur. She is really focused on her public speaking, and she is encouraging and inspiring. And the great thing about Amanda is all of this time, you would never know that she's blind. She cannot see. She is my first blind author. And not that that should really make a difference, but I find it very inspirational that somebody that has no sight can put out this wonderful book, and those of us with sight are still maybe struggling with the fear of actually doing it. So her words are encouraging and she is inspiring. So let's just get right to it. Welcome to the book club, our newest book club member, author Amanda Hill. Amanda, thank you so much for being the newest member to the book club and being a part of the podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm excited to talk to you because I will be honest, I've never met a blind author. I've never met anybody who's blind who's written a book. And I often wondered, and I have a bunch of questions for you too that I'm pretty sure this is not the first time, but I'm really excited to talk about your book, Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight. And I'm interested in the journey of how this book became a book.
Well, it certainly was a journey. I actually started off writing my first book, which was called You Don't Need Sight, You Just Need Vision. And it was a little 83-page paperback. And what that was the kernel of how I discovered my life's purpose and how other people can discover theirs. Because I was laid off from my 17-year legal career in 2014 due to government downsizing. And that started me on a journey to discovering my life's purpose, because I knew I had one, but I just didn't know what it was. And I'd ask my friends and colleagues and they couldn't tell me what it was. And I'd even read books about discovering your life's purpose. I'd prayed about it because I'm a woman of faith. And so I prayed about it and really didn't get any answers there. So anyway, once I'd been laid off, I started searching. I sold skincare for a while through a network marketing company and worked with some coaches. And then I eventually discovered that my life's purpose was to inspire and encourage others. And because that's just something that comes naturally to me. I do it without even thinking about it. People tell me I'm inspiring and I'm just being me. So I realized that that was my life's purpose. And so my first book was about that. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, I just decided that I was going to change from coaching to speaking, because after I was laid off, I retrained as a John C. Maxwell speaker, trainer and coach. And God had told me that I should speak, but it's like, I can earn more money through coaching. So I didn't speak like I was supposed to. And then at a conference last year, beginning of 2020, I really felt a very strong calling that I was to stop messing around and do what I'd been told to do and speak. So I went, all right then. So I decided to do that. And then COVID hit. And I thought, gosh, what am I going to do now? Oh, I know, I'll write another book. I'll write a book about courage. And a friend introduced me to a book coach who said to me, look, don't write another book. Get your first one and make it better. So I rewrote my first book, and it turned from an 83-page paperback into a 250-page hardback. And it's still got that same kernel of how to discover your life's purpose, but it's also got testimonials and stories of clients that I've actually coached through that process, and it's got chapters on leadership and courage and mastering your mindset and managing your finances, which are all tools that you need, I believe, when you are discovering your life's purpose.
So what's one of the ways, or what's one of the kernels that you give us to finding out what our life's purpose is?
Well, basically what you need to do is examine your present, examine your past, and examine your passions and dreams. And when you do that in great depth, you begin to see themes which are running through your past, your present, and your passions and dreams. And those themes, or that theme, will point towards what your life's purpose is. And when I did that, I realized that throughout my life, I've encouraged people, and also throughout my life, I have spoken. Like, I find it really easy. I always think it's funny when people say, "Oh, I'm so scared to stand up and speak in front of a crowd. Oh, it terrifies me. My mouth goes dry and I get the shakes and whatever." I can talk underwater. I've tried it and I can. And I'm speaking in front of crowds, whether it's 3 or whether it's 300, it doesn't bother me. It's easy. And so it's obviously something that comes naturally to me. So those two things together are my life's purpose.
So who would you say is your audience for this book?
Gosh, anyone really who's not happy in their current where they're at. So it could be someone like me who wasn't happy in their job. It could be someone who perhaps whose kids have left home and they're sort of thinking, gosh, what do I do now? It could be someone who has retired and they just don't know what to do with the rest of their lives. Yeah, it's really for anyone who's feeling a bit lost, they don't really quite know what their direction is. Perhaps also someone like me who knows that they have a purpose or a calling, but they don't know what that is.
And I think there's a lot of people out there like that who know that they have one and just have no idea on how to figure out what it is, because they're so worried about, I've got to put food on the table and I've got to pay the bills and I've got to pay the mortgage. So I don't have time to go out and pursue my dreams.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is that you don't have to necessarily give up your day job to discover your life's purpose. I mean, one of the examples I gave in the book is that, say someone wanted to work with animals, but they couldn't retrain as a vet nurse or a vet or something like that. They could, for example, do voluntary work in an animal shelter. And so their day job's paying off the bills, but they're living out their life's purpose outside their day job. They could foster animals. They could do lots of things. They could even donate to animal shelters or animal saving organizations. So there's lots of ways you can live out your life's purpose. I mean, we spend a majority of our time at work. So of course, if you can make your life's purpose your job, then that's even better, because you spend the majority of time doing that. But if you can't, you can live it out in other ways.
I think too, when people say, what is my life's purpose? I think most people associate it with some big grandiose gesture, when just what you said just about fostering animals, that's not a huge gesture, but I think that most people associate that life purpose with this huge gesture, and it sounds to me like maybe it doesn't have to be on this grand scale.
Well, it's generally a very broad thing. So it can be, I worked with a client and her life's purpose was to serve and protect. And so she did that through her job as a security work officer. And I worked with another client whose life's purpose was to inspire and encourage people through music. And she actually decided to retrain as a musician when she was laid off from her job. And So it's generally something broad, like to serve or to protect or to encourage or to teach. I know another person, or worked with another client, who her life's purpose is to help people see things differently, and she's doing that through writing a book. And because she's vision impaired, and she wants to help people see particularly vision impairment differently. So she's writing a book, but she's doing that through writing. So there are all sorts of ways. Once you've discovered your life's purpose, you then have to decide how you're going to live it out. So mine, I'm living it out through speaking, but I could live it out through writing. I could live it out through podcasting. I could live it out through any number of ways.
True, very true. So, because you are blind, do you also get the book printed in Braille?
I haven't as yet. And I'm also hoping to record it when spring is over and my croaky voice goes away. I'm also hoping to record the book. In fact, I made a start on it last year, and then I panicked and thought, oh, it's no good. And wasn't brave enough to edit it because I was too scared I'd have to do it again. So I'll have to put my big girl pants on and just stand in the walk-in wardrobe and do it. Because that's my recording studio, is my walk-in wardrobe. I stand and I talk into my jackets, which make a really good sound absorbing filter.
I don't think there's a lot of books available in Braille. Do you know anything about that process, Amanda? I'm just very curious about how you would go get your book available in Braille.
I could very easily just approach Vision Australia or any of the other blindness organisations and get them to put the book into Braille. And I really probably should do that. Thank you for the thought. It is also, though, in accessible format on Amazon. So anyone who has a smartphone which has speech can already access my book. It's in accessible format on
Understood.
Amazon. So yeah, and also through Apple Books.
Okay. So I'm curious, this is your only book? Well, this is your first book reinvented into this new book. Are you working on anything else right now? Or are you really focused on the speaking?
I'm really focused on the speaking at the moment, but I still would like to write a book on courage because there's a lot of stories out there, not just mine, but there's, a lot of courageous people out there whose stories I would love to share. And yeah, I think courage is something that everybody needs.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. So is your book Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight? Would you call that a memoir?
It's part memoir, part self-help, because it has exercises all the way through it that people can do to actually go through that 3-step process of discovering their life's purpose.
Oh, so there are exercises in the book.
Oh, yeah.
That we can do to help us kind of figure what that is.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. It's meant to be taken and worked through. So there's a lot of my story in it, but my story is purely there for example purposes.
And then because the first time that you wrote the book, what was the time span between the first book and then the reinvention book?
I wrote the first book in 90 days, starting in 2017, and I published it in May 2018. And then I started writing the second book in April 2020, and I published and launched it on the 6th of March this year.
So why did you decide to add the extra content to the second book? Is it because you had grown in that time and there was more that you wanted to talk about? I'm always curious when people rewrite their books. So tell me about that, because that's not a long time, but that's a lot of growth.
I don't think I grew that much during that period, but I think just I'd coached clients through the process, and it had become much more than the 3 steps, because I realized, coaching people through it and also looking back on my own journey, that you really did need the courage. You really did need to lead yourself. You really did need to master your mindset, because discovering your life's purpose and figuring out how to live it out, there are lots of, I guess, pitfalls you can fall into. It's not an easy process. And I say that all the way through the book. It's not an easy process, and it could take quite a while. But I wanted to, I guess, make the book better so that I could, rather than just giving people those 3 steps, I could really guide them through the process and give them practical things they could do to make that journey easier.
Yes, I would imagine that it can be incredibly challenging to try to figure out what your life's purpose is, and then try to figure out how to fulfill, how to fulfill that life's purpose so that it's meaningful for you. What advice can you give to somebody who's maybe just starting the journey, who maybe realizes, maybe I do have a life purpose, but now that I kind of am aware, what do I do now?
I guess the most important thing is don't give up, because it is hard. It does take a long time. You think you've got there, and then you kind of go, oh, actually, I haven't quite got there yet. I'd like to think of it as, so don't give up, and don't necessarily take on board everything everybody else says, because they don't really know. They don't understand the journey you're on, and unless they've discovered their life's purpose. And people can say some pretty negative things out of love, surprisingly. They're afraid. They don't want to see us do anything that take risks. So they sorry, my computer started talking to me. They unmeaningfully, that's the wrong word. They unintentionally, that's the word. They unintentionally may put you off your path by trying to protect you. So don't give up. Don't listen to everybody. And I like to think of discovering your life's purpose as like refining gold. Like some people, like some gold, you can pan it out of a river. You can just, scoop up a pan full of dirt and wash the dirt away, and you've got the gold. And other gold, you have to dig down deep, and you have to dig out the rock, and then you have to crush the rock, and then you have to put it through all these processes to get the gold out. I think that's, some people are the same. Some people, their purpose is like right on the surface. They just need a little nudge in the right direction and they find it. And other people, like me, they have to dig it out. They have to refine it. I'd like to say it's buried under a life lived doing other things.
I like that. So you had mentioned that you're a life coach. Do you offer your services online through Zoom? So if somebody listening wanted to reach out to you, you could help them? I'm
really majoring on speaking at the moment. I feel that's really where my calling is, but I will coach the occasional special client if we really click and they're the right person. So yes, I can coach over Zoom or over the phone, depending on where they live. Absolutely.
So on the speaking, when you're out there speaking and delivering the message, Amanda, I'm just so curious, where are you speaking at? Who is your audience? Where are you going?
My aim is to speak to business leaders and their teams to help them build their courage to overcome uncertainty, because really we face more uncertainty today than we ever have in our lifetimes, most of us. And that uncertainty causes confusion and loss of income and loss of revenue and fear of taking risks and fear of stepping out and doing what needs to be done. And so my aim is to speak to business leaders and their teams about how they can build their courage to overcome that uncertainty and to make progress towards a clear vision.
Yeah, and it sounds like the message that I keep hearing you saying over is the courage part, and having that courage and really understanding that fear is a crippler. I mean, it will keep you down, won't it?
Oh my gosh, yes, it will keep you stuck. It will tell you lies. Fear is an evil thing. It's not. I mean, fear is really meant to protect us from things that are dangerous, like, walking off the edge of cliffs and things like that. But it's in today's world where most of those dangerous things are removed. Fear it cripples us, it holds us down, it tells us lies, it keeps us stuck, and in like an artificial safety, from keeping us safe from things we don't really need to be kept safe from.
Right. I'm a firm believer that fear is an illusion, and you just have to have the confidence or the guts or the courage to actually break through the illusion.
Absolutely.
As opposed of always wondering what ifs. I always told myself I don't want to live with what ifs. Right? So I try to take risk, calculated risk, but risk, no doubt, right? I mean, sometimes you just have to go out on a leap of faith. And, if you want things to change, it has to start with you, most definitely.
If you want what ifs in your life, what if it works?
Yeah.
What if something good comes out of this? What if I really am strong enough to do this thing that I want to do?
Yeah.
What if my dreams come true?
Right. And so that's what I mean by the what ifs are what always motivates me, because I don't want to be 5 years from now and say, God, what if I would have taken that risk? I wonder what would have happened. So I try to act in the moment and make good decisions and lead life as fully as I can, especially in the times that we live in.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
So I really enjoy your message, Amanda, and I truly enjoyed speaking with you. The book, again, is called Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight. I would imagine it's available everywhere.
It's available everywhere, yes. You can. It's online. You can buy it from seeingbyvisionnotbysight.com. You can get it through Amazon. You can order in through all good bookstores, because I'm in the Ingram Spark catalogue, so you can order it in through all good bookstores. It will eventually be coming out on Audible. So it's available everywhere, yes.
Fantastic. Amanda, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and sharing your message and your story with us. I truly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You are so welcome. Thank you for listening to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. I just wrapped up with author Amanda Hill, and we talked about her book, Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight. The book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, bookstores. You can pretty much get it wherever good books are sold. And she is actually working more on her public speaking. So she's not working on another book for us yet, but she did say she was going to be putting out another book on courage. So I cannot wait for that to happen. And I'm sure she'll come back and share with us. If you are an author and you'd like to promote your book on the book club, it's really simple. You go to my website, brightheadedpublishing.com. You go to the contact section, and that's the get in touch with me. I'll get back in touch with you. We'll get in touch with one another. And the next thing you know, you're on the podcast promoting your book and sharing your journey with all of us. Again, as always, I thank you so much for listening to the podcast. There's a bajillion podcasts out there, so I'm really glad that you decided to spend your time with me and the author. Next week, I'll have another author for you, another journey. But until then, keep writing.